Hi, pals. Today we're going to be looking at vowels. Now, in the previous exposition, we looked at vowel and phonic symbols, and we were all urged to go learn them because they're going to come in handy in the next couple of expositions. So today we're going to be looking solely at vowels. So what's a vowel? A vowel is a speech sound or a speech work produced without any major obstruction or constriction in the vowel tract. Now, when we talk about the vowel tracts are divided into two parts. We have the oral or the buccal cavity or the nasal cavity. So when we talk about the oral cavity, we're talking about the mouth. And when we talk about the nasal cavity, we're talking about the nose. Now, these two parts make up the vocal tract. So when we talk about a vowel is a speech work that that each time it's being produced, there is no interruption in the vowel tract. That is, there will be a free flow of air through either the oral cavity or the nasal cavity. Now, if you look at most of the vowels we have, each time you pronounce them, there is no obstruction to the flow of air. So today, let's see the types of vowels that we have. Now, we have three types of vowels, and yeah, we have the monotongues that are known as the pure vowels. We have the diphthongs that are known as the glide, and we have the triphthongs. Now the monotongues are 12 in number. The diphthongs, also known as the glide, the diphthongs are the basic glide. They are just 8 in number. And the triphthongs are they're also known as a glide, but they are complex glide because you will glide from one vowel to another vowel to another vowel. So they are just 5 in number. So today we're going to be looking mainly at the monotongues, also known as the pure vowels. Now the monotongues are divided into two parts. And the first part is called the short monotongues, which are 7 in number. And the next is the long monotongues that are 5 in number. So today we're going to be working on just the short monotongues. So quickly, come with me. Now look at this. Now, first of all, we're going to be looking at what we call the vowel cardinal. We call this the vowel cardinal. As you can see, we have the two vowel cardinals. Now, the first vowel cardinal is the general vowel cardinal. This is the general vowel cardinal. We call them the primary vowel cardinal. And this vowel cardinal here is for the monotongues. So when you talk about the vowel cardinal, before we go into the vowel cardinal, there's a fact. The tongue is divided. The human tongue, which is, I can call it the chief articulator, is divided into different parts. The most basic part of the tongue is the root of the tongue. And after that, we have the back of the tongue. We have the front of the tongue. We have the blade. And we have the tip. You're going to be seeing an image to that effect later. So the fact is this. Most of the sounds we produce, most of the vowel sounds are produced between the front part of the tongue and the back part of the tongue. Now, as you can see, this major vowel cardinal, this is the front part of the tongue, and this is the back part of the back part of the tongue. Now, between the front and the back, we have the middle. This is the middle part of the tongue. Now, as you can see, all these sounds, these are the major sounds that we have. You can see them. We're going to be working on each of them. Now, as I said in the previous exposition, I said that there are various ways to write the R sound, there are various ways to write the S sound, and so on and so forth, the short form of all the sounds. And so as you can see, according to this very vowel cardinal, as you can see, this more or less like the E sound, the U sound, the S sound, this the O. The Americans mainly use this. There's a S sound, more or less like a shorter sound, and there's a O sound also. There's an R sound, and this another R sound. So now the next I want you to take note of is this. Now, when it comes to the tongue, some sounds that are being produced, like the E and the short U sound, they are being produced. They are being produced, by, as you can see, they are being produced across the front part of the tongue and the back part of the tongue. So these two sounds are called closed sounds. So most times when we pronounce them, our mouth is being closed. Now the next one is what we call mid-closed. When we pronounce these two set of sounds, our mouth is slightly closed, not completely closed, just mid-closed. So the next you have here is mid-open. When you look at the sound, when we pronounce them, our mouth is open a bit, I beg your pardon, not completely open. Now the last one we have is this set of sounds. Now when we pronounce the sounds, our mouth is completely open. So when we talk about pronunciation of vowel sounds, now vowel sounds, either short or long, they have been produced between the front part of the tongue and the back part of the tongue. So quickly, we're going to be looking at the short sounds, which the short monotongues, I mean. We're going to be focused on this today. We're going to be looking at examples on them. Now, the first one we're going to be looking at, now as you can see, these are the short vowel sounds. We have the shorty sound, the short U sound, the shorter sound, the schwa sound actually. Now, the schwa sound looks very much like the longer sound. Then the shorter sound, the inverted V, and the short O sound. So here are a couple of examples, and then now look at this. This is a short E sound. We call this E. Now, for example, seat. Seat is an example of a shorter sound. We have fish. As you can see the letters that that really accentuate the sound you're talking about. This seat, this fish, and this is ink. Now, what is special about the shorty sound? Now, when we look at the shorty sound, we look up there. The shorty sound is not really like this sound here. And that's why the other time in the previous exposition, when I gave you the different ways to write a sound, I said they could be written in different ways. Now, the fact is they look very much alike. If you look at this very sound here, this sound here is found on the front part of the tongue and is a closed sound. But the real shorty sound, the shorty sound is found very close to the mid-close. It's very close to the mid-close. It's not so close to the front. It's close enough to the central part of the tongue. And when you pronounce the shorty sound, your mouth is slightly spread out. Your lips, I mean. When you say the seat, if you look at the way your mouth is, if you look at the mirror, you pronounce sit, you can see that your mouth is slightly spread out. So that's that for the E sound, the shorty sound. So the seat, the fish, the ink. So the next one we have is a short S sound. For example, we have the bed, we have 10, you have egg. If you look at them, So these are all the shorter sound. Now, when you look at the shorter sound looks so much like this main sound here. Now, when you look at the shorter sound is produced by the front part of our tongue. It's the front part of the tongue that produces the short S sound. Now, the shorter sound is very close to the mid-open. In short, it's right in between the mid-close and the mid-open. And when you produce a short S sound, the tongue is also slightly spread. The mouth, I mean, the lips are slightly spread. I beg your pardon. So that's it. The S sound as in bed, 10, and egg. So the next thing we're going to be looking at right now is the short R sound. Short R sound as in, we call it A, as in ant, as in fat, as in pan. Now when you look at the short R sound, the short R sound, as you can see, is very close to the front part of the tongue. It's the front part of the tongue that produces it, and it's almost a completely open vowel sound. It's almost completely open. It's not fully open, but almost completely open. That's that for the short R sound. Now, when you produce a shorter sound in a given word, you find out that the leaves are slightly spread out also. Your leaves are slightly spread out. So the next we have is a short U sound. The short U sound, such as the put, the should, or sometimes we call it should. This is quite obsolete. We call this push also. So as you can see, when you pronounce the short U sound, what do you observe? When you pronounce the short U sound, you find out that your lips are rounded. I mean, the lips are in a rounded position, unlike the previous set of sounds. This one's slightly spread out, slightly spread out, slightly spread out. This one's your lips are rounded. Now let us see what the short U sound looks like. Now, when you look at the short U sound, the short U sound is very much close to the central part of the tongue, and also is being produced is quite a mid-closed sound. As you can see right there, it's quite a mid-closed sound. So that's how for the short U sound. Put, should, or sometimes should, or short sometimes, and push. So the next we have is the short O sound. The short O sound. The short O sound as in hot, dog, and doll. Now, as you can see the shorter sound, let's see what the shorter sound look like. Now, when you pronounce the shorter sound, you find out that when you look at the shorter sound, when you pronounce the shorter sound, our lips are quite rounded, not completely rounded. It's not like the short U sound. Our lips are quite rounded. And also, the shorter sound, when you pronounce it, is very close to the back of the tongue. Very close to the back of the tongue, and it's almost completely open also. It's in between the mid-open and the open. So that's that for the short O sound. And now this last two set of sounds, they are very weak sounds. They are special. Now when you look at the sound, this is called the inverted V, and we pronounce it as This is So as you can see, this sound is being pronounced by the central part of our tongue. The is being pronounced by the central part of our tongue, and also is found between the mid open and also the open, although it's closer to the mid open. So when you pronounce this, you have words like cop, we have words like calm, C-O-M-E is calm. We have words like dove, D-O-V, dove, love, and so on and so forth. So the last we have, we're going to be looking at today. This is a very special sound. Among all the sounds we have, this is the weakest of all the sound, very weak sound. It's called the short sound. Now it's pronounced as This is very much like the longest sound sometimes. So this is So how do you pronounce this? This is data. Americans like to call it dara. So this is data, and now the next you have is canoe. Now take note of this sound. This is canoe, and the last we have is teacher. Teacher. So most of the words with er, dancers, greater, deliverer, and most of the words with er, the er stuff most time give us the short sound. Now, if you look at the short sound, as far as I'm concerned, looks very much like the longest sound. Its sound is produced by the central part of the tongue, and it's found right at this point. It's found between the mid open and the mid close. So at this very junction, we're going to call in this a day. If you found this very exposition resourceful, please subscribe to this very channel and share this exposition. And also, please give me a couple of examples. Can give me 2 examples on each of the short vowel sounds. See you in the next exposition. Thanks.